Fox Sports.
We are Fox Sports. We are Fox Sports.
The Rays need a win. Any win. A slugfest. A shutout. A walk-off. Any win will do. And tonight could be the night. Tonight's Wednesday Showdown is brought to you by your Tampa Bay area Mazda dealers. The Rays return home. Interleague play comes to Tropicana Field. First off, the Rays will entertain the Miami Marlins. Hi again, everyone. Welcome to an evening of Rays baseball. With Brian Anderson, I'm Dwayne Stats. Todd Callis along in just a few moments. Great to have you with us. And for the Rays, great to be back home. The road was not good to the Rays and certainly not good to their offense.
Dwayne, the Rays road trip started off slow and then it really tailed off. And a lot of reason for that was the offense. Offense itself, look at that. Not a win on the trip, but the average, 217. They were 5 out of 44 with runners in scoring position, including 0 for their last 22. That led to just over 2 runs a game. A lot of ground ball double plays. We saw 3 of them last night in their 1-0 shutout. The one thing that you hold your hat on, though, the one thing you hope for is the fact that this team has scored 4.73 runs a game at home. They're going to be here for a while. Need to get it started tonight.
Yeah, and tonight the Rays will send David Price to the mound. He can't do anything here at home in interleague play about the offense, but he can take care of business on the mound, and we know how good that can be.
Yeah, David Price's last 2 starts was a home and home against the Boston Red Sox, and you see he's given up the 7 earned run in the 15 innings, but you remember, you go back 2 starts ago, 5 of those came in the first 6 hitters of the game, so his last 14 innings, he's given up just 7 hits and 2 earned runs. So David Price, and he said it himself, it is all about execution of my pitches. When I do that, I can't be beat, and he has certainly done that over his last 14 innings.
This game tonight starts a long stretch for the Rays. June will be very good to the Rays in terms of being home. What they do with that, anybody's guess right now. But 18 of the next 21 will be right here at Tropicana Field. Todd Callis has more on that. On Sun Sports is presented by Toyota. Let's go places. By AT&T, mobilizing your world. Checkers. Checkers brings big flavor for a small price. Feed your craving for quality for only $1. Cha-ching. And by your Tampa Bay area Mazda dealers. It takes conviction, creativity, and courage to build cars worth driving. This is the Mazda way. Rays home against the Marlins at Tropicana Field tonight. Let's go to left field where Todd Callis is standing by. Todd?
Dwayne, thanks. No matter what the record was going to be at this point of the season, and obviously 23-36 is not what the Rays hoped, they looked at the schedule and they saw a lot of blue in the month of June. But rather than squint and look at it with my pocket schedule, let's look at a bigger graphic, and you'll see what's coming up here. It starts and ends with interleague play, with a little splash of the National League as well in the middle with the Cardinals. Starts with Miami tonight, ends with the Pirates. Also in town, Seattle, Baltimore, and Houston. 18 games out of 21 at home for the Rays, a time where they really need to make a move. And that only trip, the lone trip in that 21-day stretch, is a quick trip back and forth to Houston. So this is the best stretch on the schedule all season long. Tonight is a Website Wednesday, which means you can get your questions ready for Dwayne and BA. You can tweet them to @SunSportsRays with the hashtag AskRays, or email your questions to sunsportsrays@gmail.com. And they are looking for all the right answers as we get ready for baseball on this Wednesday night. It's the Rays and the Marlins. The Citrus Series continues with Game 3 of 4. We'll see if the home team can win the third in a row after Miami won the 2 at Marlins Park. Game action right around the corner. David Price versus Tom Kohler next.
After back-to-back starts against the Boston Red Sox, David Price tonight takes the mound against the Florida Marlins. In 3 career starts against the Marlins, he is 1-2. And Miami comes in here 2 games over 500 with a record of 30-28. Reed Johnson will lead off as we take a look at the starting lineup. Brought to you by your Southern Ford dealers. Ed Lucas is at third. Giancarlo Stanton is in right field hitting third. Casey McGee, the DH. Marcell Ozuna is in center field. Jeff Baker is at first. Donovan Solano at second. Jeff Mathis will do the catching. Adeiny Echeverria is the shortstop.
Now taking the mound tonight, looking to turn their fortunes around, is going to be left-hander David Price, making his 13th start of the season. 2 complete games, an even-up record, 4-4, 4.27 on the earned run average. But you look at his last 2 starts, both against Boston, 7 earned runs in 15 innings, but 5 of those came in that first inning of the first start against Boston. His last 14 innings have been outstanding, and David said it's all about the execution of the pitches. And let's look at the defense as it lines up behind him, brought to you by Golden Diamond Source. In the outfield, left to right, we've got Joyce, Jennings, and Kiermaier. Across the infield, third to first, Evan Longoria, Yunel Escobar, Ben Zobrist, and James Loney. Jose Molina will be behind the plate.
The Rays and the Marlins started their interleague matchup in Miami. Marlins won the first game on Monday 3-1, and they shut out the Rays 1-0 in their game last night. So it's David Price to the hill for the Rays, and Reed Johnson, the leadoff man, playing left field. First pitch of this game presented by Pinch-A-Penny. And that first pitch is a fastball in there for a strike. Johnson hitting .324 and .400 against left-handed pitching. And that's the nature of this lineup put together by Mike Redmond.
Right-handers up and down. You some new faces: Reed Johnson, Jeff Baker, Donovan Solano. A couple of faces that the Rays have not seen in the first 2 games of this home-and-home with the Marlins.
Second-year skipper, former catcher Mike Redmond. And he has Reed Johnson out in front. Changeup here. Third pitch of the game, and the count is 1-2.
Look at the first 2. Both sides of the plate with the fastball. Then he comes with the changeup. Right out there, 1-2. Good count to expand on. David Price, he likes to come after hitters in these types of counts. Does not like to waste time.
Foul out of play. David averaging not quite 15.5 pitches per inning this year. And as aggressive as he can be inside the strike zone, that's 1 pitch more per inning he's averaging this year than last year when he was at 14.5. And he strikes out Johnson. Cut the miss on the change. A couple of those in the mix early.
You know, and this is one of those starts that David Price could get into a real good rhythm with all these right-handed hitters that he's going to face. The fastball away, mix it with the fastball in, be able to set up that good changeup. If David Price has everything working tonight, when you can get into a good rhythm against a lineup that's going to feature all right-handed hitters, you can really have a good night.
Ted Lucas playing third base. Pitch is a strike.
Every hitter sets themselves up the same. They're right-handed hitters. They stand there. You go fastball down and away, arm side. You go glove side fastball, changeup. Everything stays the same the entire start, and that can allow you to get into a great rhythm.
0-2. That's why some managers would like to go lefty-righty up and down that lineup to prevent a pitcher from doing that. But if you stack them because you've got the lefty on the mound, it's one right-handed hitter after the next. 1 ball, 2 strikes, pretty close right there to Lucas.
Well, good pitch here by David, and this is one of those pitches where even if you don't get the call, you don't get Lucas to swing at it, it still serves a purpose. In off the plate, it changes his eyes. right back out away.
Lucas fouls it away up the right side, out of play.
The thing that's good about David, too, with all these right-handers is he's going to be able to back and forth them. In and out, soft. In and out, soft. He's got very, very good command. We see that in the amount of walks that he has. 84, well, in 2/3 innings now. Just 9 walks on the season. That speaks to the command.
90 strikeouts, 9 bases on balls. Pitch down to Lucas, 2-2. Lucas had over 3,700 minor league plate appearances before he finally got to the big leagues. In fact, it was just a little over a year ago at the end of May last year.
And what we've seen out of Ed Lucas is a pretty good 2-strike approach. He'll take the ball the other way. That's why he's in the 2-hole.
And he works the count full now. And he comes into this one 10 of 19 this year against left-handed pitching.
Is that good?
It's one of those stories where you have to root for a guy who's put that much time, that kind of perseverance in the minor leagues, and finally get the opportunity to spend some time in the big leagues. See another 3-2 pitch here from Price. Miami comes into this one unbeaten in interleague play, by the way. They're 5-0, winning those 2 over the Rays. Previously, they had swept a 3-game series from the Seattle Mariners. Strike 3 call. Got him looking on a fastball at 93.
Full count. Ed Lucas, we talked about his 2-strike approach, looking to go the other way. So what does David Price do? You get the idea. A hitter is looking for something middle away. You come in, you lock him up. Great pitch.
So the bases are empty. And here's Stanton, and this is far and away the best way to face this guy with the bases empty. Strike around the knees.
Well, you see David Price early on as being able to spot up that fastball. Down and away, up and in off, staying out of the middle of the plate.
Well, Stanton is impressive wherever he plays. And our Buick big matchup, look at that. The on-base percentage on the road is .561. Topping the list of those great major league hitters. Well, 2 balls and a strike.
You look his numbers across the board. I mean, the 16 home runs, 51 runs batted in. Big time power, big numbers.
Interesting numbers against the Rays, because you'll recall when they first saw him, he started very fast against the Rays, and they've been able to tame him a bit lately. He drives this one off the wall in left. Joyce with a good carom, and into second base with a double goes Stanton.
You know, that speaks to his power right there. Now listen, 5 of his 16 home runs have gone at least 450 feet. That's a huge feat in and of itself. But watch this swing on a ball down and away, the plate coverage, and to be able to pull that ball and almost get it out of here in left center field. That is amazing. Full extension, the ball down and away. Those are tough to elevate anyway, let alone pull side off the top of the wall.
So a 2-out threat as a result of Stanton's double. And here's Casey McGee, and how much has he helped Stanton, who is a threat all by himself, but McGee's having a great year behind him. And he takes the first pitch for a strike. McGee goes back to playing in Japan, where he had a great year.
How about those numbers? How about having 36 runs batted in with just 1 home run? Look at his runners in scoring position average.
The best.
Well up over 400.
Yeah, it's the best in the major leagues.
This guy has been very, very clutch. Giving Stanton a little bit of protection.
1-1.
Well, the Miami Marlins, in trying to get their players voted into the All-Star game, have, vote for #HitsMcGee. And for good reason.
And why not? Yep. Price is 1-1. Gets a strike call. David's last outing Friday against Boston. You cannot overlook this Marlins lineup. They are productive. Down the right side. Fair ball. That will score Stanton. And how about that? McGee got that one in between Loney and the line. And the Marlins take a 1-0 lead.
If there's one area of the field you're not thinking of McGee going to, it's right there. 2 strikes. The ball that's away, and he just gets good coverage here and hits that ball solidly and able to get it by the diving James Loney between him and first base, coming from a right-handed hitter. Unfortunate for the Rays, but a good job by McGee, and hence hits McGee. That's why 37 runs batted in now with just 1 home run.
Well, he came in hitting .426 with men in scoring position. That's why. Here's Ozuna. Fastball fouled into the screen.
You know, and another 2-strike hit given up by David Price. You know, if there's one criticism that you would have of the way that David attacks hitters, and I love the fact that he goes right after him, but he does allow his fair share of 2-strike hits. In fact, more than most. You look at the Rays, you know, the breakout of the staff in and of itself, or just the starters. And by far and away, his average the highest. In fact, coming into play today, Alex Cobb with 2 strikes. The average against him in any count with 2 strikes, 110. David Price is double that at 220, and that's not a very high average. But with 2 strikes, it is. I mean, even the guy that he's facing tonight, Tom Kohler, 2-strike average against him is 131. So sometimes just too many hittable pitches with 2 strikes.
Oh, pretty close right there on the 0-2. The fastball, Ozuna took it.
Well, this is going to be close. Away, pop one in. Well, now David can double up. He can come right back in there. Looks like he's going to do just that.
And a cut and a miss. He strikes him out. Follow that fastball with a curveball. A run scores. We go to the Rays half of the first, 1-0. Coming in to hit, trying to shake out of the offensive doldrums they have been in recently. Let's take a look at the Rays starting lineup. Presented by your Southern Ford dealers. David DeJesus, the DH, then Ben Zobrist and Evan Longoria, James Loney, Desmond Jennings, and Matt Joyce. Escobar hit 7th. Kevin Kiermaier showing great overall approach to this game. He's hitting 8th and Jose Molina 9th.
And they'll be going up against the Marlins right-hander Tom Kohler, making his 12th start of the season, a 4-5 record, very good ERA at 3.18. And of those 11 starts, 8 have been quality.
Well, there's DeJesus taking a pitch upstairs. Rays start the night 23-36. Who would have thought that? Not many people.
No.
You go back to spring training, and even when the Rays were a week or two into the season, no one could have believed that they would be 13 games under 500 to start this homestand.
Yeah, I really, nobody thought 13 games under 500 at any point.
That's right.
During this season. But there they stand.
3 is high. You saw Joe Madden there. And of course, a manager is going to be positive. Joe tends to be that way anyway. And he's still talking about this team turning it around.
Yeah, well, that's what he has to do. You got to continue to infuse positive thoughts with this team. This is a start here, a walk to lead off the game. But, you know, I think Alex Cobb and his comments the other night when he was talking about guys need to look at themselves in the mirror and say, you know, what can I do to get better? What can I do? What adjustment can I make to get better? And it's going to fall on the player. Joe Madden can create the atmosphere. He can do all of those things, but it's going to be up to the player himself to get it going. And that's what you're looking for here with 18 of the next 21 at home.
There's Ben Zobrist. Starts the night at 247, and the pitch is high, so that's 5 straight pitches out of the zone by Kohler.
You can see his mechanics have a little violence to them, and he's right now flying open just a little bit early. That arm side not able to catch up. The ball sailing arm side high. He tried to make an adjustment on David DeJesus, and he kind of yanked that pitch. So right now struggling with the release ball.
The move to first. DeJesus back in. You know, talking about struggling teams. Yeah, you played on some teams that struggled. You played on some really solid and very good teams. And it would seem to me, having been around clubs across the spectrum myself, but you were in the clubhouse with those teams. Whether you're winning or losing, it really does start with the players.
It does. It does. You know, the manager and the coaches can only do so much. They can only go out and help you so much. Do the work. Put the time in. Think about this. Game plan that. Back off a little bit. Give them a little bit more info. You try everything, but at the end of the day, it's the guy on the mound. It's the guy standing in the box. They've got to get it done. And they know that.
2-1.
But that's where it's going to come from. And it just becomes being a self-evaluator. What am I doing well? What am I not doing so well? What adjustments can I make? That's the key at this level. Make the adjustments.
Well, you saw Evan Longoria on deck there, and he's articulated that already. He said this team has just not, and he includes himself in that, has just not been consistent really in any facet of the game. Pick whatever part of this game as it relates to this team that you want to. They have not sustained that level of excellence that we've all come to enjoy and expect of this team, and that they have come to expect of themselves.
Yeah, you find yourself almost for a time with the deer in the headlights. Like, we're not used to this. We don't play like this. What is going on? You know, then you got to do some soul searching, and then you almost wish this team said, you know what, listen, here's the thing. We're trying all these different things. We're being mechanical, our approach, this and that and the other. It's not working. Let's go out and play some ball.
Yeah.
See ball, hit ball. You know, go out there, pitchers, attack the zone. They've been doing a better job of that. But these guys, you know, cut it loose.
Zobrist up 3-1 in the count, and there's a shot high and deep to right. Good carry, goodbye. Home run for Zobrist. Well, Ben Zobrist gets it down on a 3-1 pitch, and the Rays take a 2-1 lead.
Ben Zobrist on cue. Middle in fastball. fastball, and he jumps all over it.
The Rays answered the Marlins run in the top of the first with 2 so far here in the bottom of the first on the 4th home run of the year for Ben Zobrist. Now Evan Longoria takes the ball. Kohler's only been in the strike zone with 2 pitches, and one of them was hit out of the ballpark. And there's ball 2. It's 2-0 to Longoria.
Mechanically right now, Tom Kohler is all over the place. And that's what Ben Zobrist zeroed in on. Guy struggling with his command. I'm going to look for a fastball that I can do damage on. Same thought Longoria's having here.
Ooh, but Longoria tried to jump all over that one.
You know what? Listen, that's a good thing. Evan Longoria, that's what you want to start seeing out of him, is that powerful swing once again. And he took a shot there.
3 balls and a strike. Number 6 for Evan. Down the left field line and out of here.
You've got a pitcher struggling with command. You can start to zero in. We already saw one big swing from Evan. And in a 3-1 count, he gets another chance. Didn't miss that one.
That'll be James Loney. Around his feet. So back-to-back home runs for the Rays here in the first inning. The second time they've gone back-to-back this year. First time was Jennings and Loney against Toronto.
Boy, what a great answer by the Rays offense. You know, a team that's struggling, lost every game on the road trip, 0-8. Give up a run in the top of the first inning, but then turn right around and put up 3 in a hurry.
A ball, 2 strikes the count on Loney. Loney with a couple home runs this year. In fact, his second home run was part of that back-to-back home run job with Jennings and Loney in Toronto on May the 26th. 2-2 the count on Loney right now. So we'll see another pitch at 2-2 from Tom Kohler, 27-year-old right-hander.
You can see his stuff plenty good. It's been the command so far tonight. 93, 94 we've seen on the fastball, curveball, slider, changeup.
And a cut and a miss. He got to 95 with that fastball. Something behind that one.
Look at him pull those hands through. The great thing about that shot right there is you see there was no movement, no wiggle in Evans' bat. That tells you that he caught it flush. So does that.
The strike to Desmond Jennings. The Rays off to a 3-1 lead. 2-run home run by Zobrist. The solo shot following from Longoria. And now Jennings is behind. Fastball at 96.
A little anger on these last couple of fastballs.
Kohler trying to find the measure of things out there. But Chuck Fernandez, pitching coach, really likes his approach and has We've seen on a couple of pitches there. He's got good stuff.
He does. He absolutely does. Listen, you don't get 11 starts into a season with a 3.18 without being able to do something right. 8 of the 11 quality.
Jennings fouls it back. Matt Joyce is on deck. Another foul ball from Jennings.
You know, the other thing that's disconcerting for Kohler tonight is he's much like David Price, where David Price 15.4 pitches an inning, Kohler 15.5 pitches an inning. So you can see that command has been an issue early.
Fly ball the other way to right. Stanton back a few steps. 2 gone. The Rays saw Kohler last year in a start at Marlins Park. At the end of May last season, and he pitched 8 innings against them, walked only 1 with 4 strikeouts in that one, and the Rays managed to beat him 3-1 on 7 hits. But he pitched pretty well in that game.
Yeah, you'll take that long. That's going to give your team a chance to win each and every time out, which is all you're asking for from your starter.
Matt Joyce takes the first pitch strike. Curveball in there that time. This is down with 1 there.
And that's why it's good for the Rays that they were able to capitalize for these 3 runs when Tom Kohler was still searching to find it, because you can see how effective he can be. The stuff is there. The slider sweeps, the curveball. Pretty good curveball with another change of pace in that mid to upper 70s. The fastball, he's gotten up into the mid 90s. Try to strike while the iron's hot.
That's a fastball that comes into the corner on the inside part. 2-2.
Tough to make that adjustment after seeing 3 straight curveballs in the upper 70s. Then he pops a 93 at you.
The looper into center. That's going to fall for a base hit. So Joyce strong enough to take that fastball and drop it into center field.
Yeah, he tried to double up on the heat, and Joyce was able to muscle it out there. But again, Kohler wants the ball down and away. It ends up in. So mislocation badly there. Matt Joyce just able to punch it out into center field.
Chuck Hernandez makes a trip to the mound, the Marlins pitching coach.
Chuck Hernandez, one of the best you'll find in all of baseball, understanding the mental side of things, the mechanical side of things.
Yep. I'll tell you, with the Angels, all that time out there, here with the Rays, now with the Marlins, he's one of the best.
Yeah, he was my first ever pitching coach.
It's always a special feeling you get with that first pitching coach. First is always the best.
That's right. That's right.
So here's Yunel Escobar. Escobar starts the night hitting .258, a little tapper foul. Three runs, 3 hits for the Rays here in the first. A couple of home runs.
And they have made Tom Kohler work. 33 and counting in the pitch department.
That's a base hit, finding its way through the hole on the left side of the infield. Joey stops at second.
Escobar on a slider gets out. You see he's moved up in the box. Still able to cover that plate right there and get that ball and pull it over in the hole. How funny is this game of baseball? I mean, the Rays, who were lifeless as far as offense goes, especially as the trip went on. It was bad enough for the whole trip, but in the last 4 games of the trip, they scored just 2 runs. 3 already, and still threatening.
Yeah, we actually saw smiles in that shot in the dugout. I mean, how strange was that? There's Kevin Kiermaier taking a pitch down and in.
We'll all have sore faces tomorrow.
Yeah, let's not overdo it. You got to work back in gradually.
Start with a smirk.
Well, Kiermaier hitting .304. Takes a good look at ball 2 right there. 2-0. You can't help but be impressed by the way every time we saw him, and now he's getting a little extended stay here with the Rays. Impressed with his approach. Plays the game hard. Lifts a fly ball into right, and Stanton back to his left a little bit there to make the catch. Retires the side. But the Rays come up with a 3-run first. Home runs from Ben Zobrist and Evan Longoria, providing the firepower. It's 3-1 Tampa Bay.
Runs in 1 inning than they had in any of the previous 6 games. Joe Maddon talked about the state of the Rays clubhouse before the game, and here are his thoughts.
Guys are upset. Guys don't like losing. We don't like losing 1-0, 3-1, or scoring 2 runs in the last 4 games, something awkward like that. Nobody likes that. Don't ever get me wrong about it. But at the end of the day, the gift of anger doesn't help. The gift of doubt doesn't help. Any of those gifts I really don't want. I mean, the gift of optimism, I think, is the one we need to give our players.
Great try by Yunel Escobar, who is making sure the call was right at first base. It was a safe call, but what an effort by Escobar. Also, don't forget, this is an Ask the Announcer Web Wednesday. If you have any questions, as we'll take a replay, go to hashtag AskRays on Twitter. Guys, back to you.
Yeah, Escobar tried to unload that ball as quickly as he could, but no chance to get Jeff Baker, who's aboard with a leadoff single.
Dwayne, I've been given the gift of anger before, and it's never fun to open that up.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. I'll just put this right over there in the corner.
Right next to the gift of doubt.
Yeah. Trying to whistle my way right by those 2 gifts. Here's Solano taking a pitch for a strike. 0-1 the count. Baker at first. One the count. Donovan Solano playing second base. He can play all over the place, and last year really stepped up at second and played well for the Marlins. Going to bunt, and that's a foul ball. Made contact with him when he was in the batter's box, and so it's a 1-2 count.
And that ball was moving down and in as he's trying to lay it up the third base line. Ends up bunting it right off of his shoe.
Here's one thing you don't want to forget. The Rays are up 3-1. They've jumped out to a lead. But the only team in the National League to score more runs than the Marlins would be the Colorado Rockies. How about that?
Amazing turnaround.
Yep.
This Marlins team, which last year they were dead last in Major League Baseball in any offensive category that meant anything.
And Solano swings and misses. It'll be strikeout number 4 for David Price already.
And the second one on the curveball. David Price bringing that pitch out, a little change of pace with the speed, and he's put it in some good spots.
Yeah, by my count, he's got 1 on a change, 1 on the fastball, 2 on the curveball now.
When David Price is able to mix all 3 of those pitches, and let's not forget the backdoor cutter that he'll use against right-handed hitters. He's starting to be effective with all 3, all 4. It could be a long night for this Marlin offense.
Jeff Mathis lifts it toward the line and right. Kiermaier over there is there to make the catch in foul ground. Boy, he's moving even when he's not moving, Kiermaier.
Yeah, well, you know, that's what you love about him. You talked about his approach. I agree with that. I love his energy level on top of that, the enthusiasm that he brings to the game. I mean, he is all out all the time.
So 2 gone. Echeverria, the shortstop. It's fouled back. There's a strike. Most of you were wondering if we had any examples of Kiermaier's excellence out there. Here it is.
Well, he can go get it, and he can also get it and throw it. Done.
The Reds had only seen that replay ahead of time. He's got quite an arm out there.
Well, you know, early in the year, and even still now, teams will try to take advantage of the Rays outfielders and the arms that they have out there, and they tried to run on them early in the year, had a lot of success, and then all of a sudden you stick Kiermaier out there in center field, base hit, and they're like, okay, Rays outfield arm, we're going to challenge it. Well,
his 2 strikes to count to Echeverria. Now a ball and 2 strikes. Marlins running second, a game and a half out in the National League East. Braves just trying to find their direction after a very difficult road trip. 2-2.
And you've got to keep it simple. The Rays want nothing more than to build consistency. And the way you do that as a pitcher, you're thinking 1 pitch at a time. You start to look at 1 inning at a time. Win this particular inning. Win the next inning. Don't look past that. All of a sudden, you do that long enough, you look up and say, hey, 3 or 4 games in a row we put together, and then you can maybe get something rolling.
Did he go on the check at first? He held up.
David Price liking that curveball tonight. I've seen him use that pitch more often here in the first 2 innings than sometimes you'll see in an entire game.
David made 25 pitches in the first, and Kohler, as you pointed out, is right there with David in pitches per inning. Kohler made 37. A lot of pitches early. It's backhanded by Escobar. Long throw to first. No chance. Baker off with the pitch, 3-2, and so he moves into second. Echeverria has an infield hit.
Well, we've seen Echeverria go the other way. Now you see him pull one over in the hole. Escobar able to get to it, but his momentum taking him out towards the left field line. No way he was going to be able to make that throw and get Adeiny.
Two men on with 2 men out, and we swing back around to the top of the Miami lineup. Here's Reed Johnson. Cut the miss, strike. Get him out in front, ready to attack a fastball that got the change.
Yeah, runner in scoring position, 2 outs. Reed Johnson looking to make something happen, and David Price takes full advantage with that changeup. That's what he struck him out on in his first at-bat to lead this game off.
You know, there's a case where second time through, start him with a changeup,
yeah,
given the situation and the fact that it's starting the second time through.
Yep, and he's seen other pitches, so that there's a foundation there that's already been laid that you can play off of.
Hot shot foul back a third. 0-2.
I tell you, this is a complete change in David Price's game plan. We usually see a lot of fastballs, a lot of backdoor cutters to the right-handed hitters, a few changeups sprinkled in, and a few of the curveballs. He has really used that curveball an awful lot tonight. Obviously, the Rays are very good at certain teams' game plan specific ways of doing things, and tonight the curveball looks to play a prominent role for David.
Ooh, very close.
Yeah.
Johnson started to unload, either checked in time or couldn't pull the trigger, and that, oh my. So I guess he did, huh? He checked, and they said he didn't check. So with that, Johnson is out, and the Rays will come into bat in the bottom of the second. Boy, you talk about a little time delay. But he's out on strikes. Rays lead 3-1 in the middle of the second. top half ended on that check swing attempt by Reed Johnson. Here's Molina and a ground ball to third. Lucas tried to backhand it and could not come up with it cleanly. And Molina has a base hit. He goes after the first pitch here in the bottom of the second, and the Rays will pick up their 5th hit. Let's take a look at the top half of this inning now and the time elapse after that check swing attempt.
Well, you can see right there, it looked like Reed Johnson went a little bit too far, and then watch how long it takes before there is an appeal. Wait for it. We weren't keeping track at home. There's 11 seconds.
Now the first pitch into David DeJesus is a strike. Yeah, everyone stood around for a while. The dugout was saying, hey, how about a check? Check on the appeal. They finally got Molina's attention, who said, hey, how about a check? Okay, well, all right, 11 seconds and you're out. High foul, that's out of play. So it's 0-2. It was the 5th strikeout for Price, by the way. Zobrist on deck. He got the scoring started for the Rays with a 2-run home run. Jesus had walked in the first. He was out on strikes. Pitch down and in.
Well, let's take a quick look at the Marlin defense as it lines up tonight. Brought to you by Gold and Diamond Source. In the outfield, left to right, Reed Johnson, Marcelo Zuna, and Giancarlo Stanton. Across the infield, third to first, Ed Lucas, Adeiny Echeverria, Donovan Solano, and Jeff Baker. Jeff Mathis will be behind the plate.
It's been Zobrist. Looking at a pitch too low. Ball, no strikes. Deck. One of the back-to-back home runs the Rays struck in the first. Two and one, the count to Ben. Chopper Nubber. Lucas goes to second. They're going to get the lead man there. So they had a lot of time with Molina going down there. Lucas, aware of that, gets the lead man. In the game tonight and all season long, Tires Plus donates $100 to the Pediatric Cancer Foundation for every Tampa Bay Rays home run televised on Sun Sports. Zobrist now the runner at first. He's there with 2 outs for Evan Longoria. Evans' home run, his 6th of the year, came right down the line in left. After a pitch up, a fastball up there by Kohler. Strike one.
Well, yeah, those are tough to get on top of. And Evan Longoria, after homering in his first at bat, showing that aggressive swing once again.
Ball, one strike.
I'll tell you, he swung through that pitch. I don't mind that at all. Of course, you don't want Evan to get reckless with his swing, but you do want to see a bit of aggression come back into it. And we've seen that here in his first 2 at-bats.
Yeah, that's encouraging. Positive sign. Now moved to first. Silver is back in. Because it did seem for quite a while, Evan, I don't know, feeling for the ball is quite right, but he did hit the ball the other way and was searching to find a place where he could turn it loose and hit the ball hard again.
I think that's exactly right. He was being pitched away, and so he was taking his base hits to right field. But when presented with the opportunity of pitches middle of the plate, middle in, he was not able to turn on him with authority, to get those hands firing through the zone. Well, we've seen some different swings out of him here tonight, including a home run right down the line.
James Loney on deck. We go to 2-2. Ground ball for the shortstop. Toss to Solano at second. Will retire the Rays to leave one man. We're through 2, 3-1 Tampa Bay. The Mazda Wednesday Showdown. The Rays and the Marlins. First game of their 2-game set at Tropicana Field after the Marlins took 2 games in Miami from the Rays. This one, David Price and Tom Kohler. Price with 5 strikeouts through the first 2 innings. And here's Ed Lucas leading off the third with a soft fly ball into left, and it's going to drop in front of Joyce for a base hit.
You know, that was a nice play by Matt Joyce. He broke in on that ball with the idea of catching it, and then when he realized he wasn't going to, he kind of closed up all the holes in his body and just kept the ball in front of him. Watch right here. I'm not going to get it, so let me just get in front of it, keep everything in front, and just knock it down. Does a nice job right here, just making sure all the gaps are covered. Keep that ball in front, keep him to a single.
Stanton. That first pitch is a little bit outside a fastball. So a runner aboard with the Marlins right fielder in the box, Giancarlo Stanton. That's going to go through the left side for a base hit. Lucas turns second and holds. 2 men aboard.
It almost looked like Yunel Escobar a step or two shading Giancarlo Stanton up the middle, and as hard as the ball comes off his bat, even when he is fully extended and off the end, just rips that ball right over into the hole.
It's 5 hits for the Marlins.
That's
now actually 6 with their 2 in this inning, so they have 6 hits off Bryce.
And this guy right here, runners in scoring position, already got it done in his first at bat, and that's the difference between this Marlins team and the Marlins team from just a year ago. The growth of that offense been impressive.
McGee, after the first pitch, boy, he was jumping on that one and skies it to shallow left. Caught out there by Joyce, and the runners hold at first and second, but you know what was on McGee's mind.
Wow. And that's an at-bat where as a pitcher you just wipe your forehead, thank you, and go to work on Marcell Ozuna, because this was a hanging breaking ball. Watch this. I mean, right there, and he just missed it. Pulled off a little bit too much.
Even the dugout, I mean,
yeah,
they could see it before he swung. They had great anticipation. That was a great shot of the dugout there. Here's Ozuna. Good cut. Strike one.
Well, the one thing about, when you have a top flight pitcher like David Price on the mound, you don't get many of those opportunities, and so you had better cash in.
Lucas on second. Stanton is at first. 1 out. Ozuna hitting 5th. And Mike Redmond's lineup.
Tell you,
off speed and then the fastball.
Yeah, and the Rays have pitched Ozuna so tough. I mean, they have really gone off speed on him, surprised him with the fastball here or there, and you could tell by that swing, just not sure right now what he's seeing.
Into the dirt. This one will skip past Molina, go all the way to the backstop, and now both runners are in scoring position. A wild pitch charged to Price.
Yeah, that's going to be difficult for anybody to handle this offering by David Price. He spikes that curveball down in front. Jose Molina trying to get over and keep that ball in front, and it's able to deflect high off of his chest and over the on-deck circle.
So a major threat by the Marlins here in the 3rd inning. Up the right field side, that's got some twist to it and is out of play. Well, slicing out of play, and the count holds at a ball and 2 strikes. Ozuna is 23 years old. get Lucas caught. He breaks to the plate. Molina tracks him back. Now Longoria gets the tag, and Lucas got himself into that rundown long enough, and so the Marlins come out of that still with men at second and third, but Lucas is out number 2.
Well, David Price looking to cut down a run. He's going to run right at Lucas. Lucas breaks towards the plate. Ideally, you'd like to get him breaking back towards third, but because Lucas was initially able to head home, he's then able to stay in that rundown long enough to get everybody else moved up as far as they can.
It's 1-2. And the eventual put out there for the second out came at a time when Stanton went to third and Ozuna winds up at second.
And if you can initially run him back towards third, you can pin him back there at third base, and then that typically leaves the other guys at first and second, and that's why it was a good job by Lucas, even in the midst of making an out. That initial reaction heading towards home. We'll see if that helps out the Marlins here.
1 strike to Baker. Jeff Baker had an infield hit his first time. It's 1-1.
And pretty nifty glove work there by Jose Molina, because that was another curveball short, and he backhanded it clean.
Two outs and a 1-1 count. Chop to third, and they're going to get the tag. Oh, he dropped the ball. Oh, they had the tag. Stanton will score. And now it's a 3-2 ball game.
Well, instead of making the play and the throw, you see the tag was in time, but as he's banging around in there, that ball is able to work its way out of the end of the glove. Boy, what an unfortunate turn there. Play not end up being made, and it cost the Rays a run. And you saw that the tag was in time.
Yeah, that was going to be in time to end the inning. It would have been 3-1, but now it's 3-2, and the inning continues. Fielder's choice, and an E5 is the scoring on that right now. Now here's Donovan Solano. Long one back into left. Joyce will look up, and that one will get out of here. Well, on the very next pitch, Solano belts a 3-run home run. His first home run of the year. And with the inning extended, the Marlins take a 5-3 lead.
Boy, sometimes that's all it takes. And Donovan Solano, on that swing, he got a similar breaking ball that Casey McGee got. Pulled off of a little bit, flew out to left field. Solano, better job of staying on this pitch and down and through it. And he drives it right out of here.
So just like that, the Marlins take advantage. Well, you give a team an extra out, and anything can happen, and this time it's a 3-run home run.
Boy, and you know that nobody feels worse than Evan Longoria. Thought that he had made a play to end the inning with the tag. A little bit of extra contact. The ball works its way out of his glove, and just like that, it led to a run and then 3 more.
1 strike to count on the catcher, Jeff Mathis. He lines this one over Zobrist's head and into center. The Marlins continue this inning. 8 hits already for the Marlins.
Well, the one thing that teams know, David Price is going to be around the plate. So go up there, you're going to get a pitch that you're going to be able to take a good swing at. And who would have thought here in the top of the third, already with 8 hits, and the inning's not even over.
Eddie Echeverria reached on an infield hit in the second. And he comes out swinging at the fastball, fouls it back, had a good cut.
Well, that's the way the Marlins team has been this year. You know, they've had an offensive resurgence. They're an aggressive team. They go up there ready to hit, and they're not just going to take pitches for the sake of taking. They feel like they can put it in play with authority. They're going to do that.
One ball, one strike. Five 8-0 for Miami. 3-5-1 for the Rays. Fly ball down the right side. Kiermaier giving it some great hustle, but it's not catchable. So the count is 1-2.
And the Rays ball boys up the lines usually very sure-handed. Even they're having a rough go of it.
That's just not right.
That's not right.
No. Yeah, but he's keeping his spirits up. That's important. A ball, 2 strikes.
He's been given the gift of optimism.
It's important. Yep.
There may be another play to be made. You're going to hang your head. You're probably not going to make that one either.
Put it behind you. Be ready for the next play.
That's the toughest thing about this game.
Yep.
Because it's daily. It's a game built around failure, and it is a game that is played almost every day for 6 months. You had better have thick skin, and you better be tough upstairs if you're going to succeed in this game over the long haul.
Ground ball to short. They get the force. Escobar to Zobrist. 8 men come to the plate, and the Marlins take a 5-3 lead.
Rays fans, if you have Twitter and you want a chance to win $175 in Rays and Sun Sports merchandise, you're not going to want to miss out on this. It's called the Citrus Series Sweepstakes, and this is all it takes to win. All you got to do is tweet to @SunSportsFoxFL using 2 special hashtags, biggest Tampa fan and sponsored, and that's it. Tweet as much as you want. After the Citrus Series ends tomorrow, we will pick a winner at random. Happy tweeting.
All right, so tweet away as we go to the bottom of the third. 5-3, the Marlins lead the Rays. The first pitch into James Loney is a breaking ball, strike one.
Well, the Rays are going to have to win a shootout tonight. And an early 3-1 lead. Now find themselves down 5-3. Time to answer.
Only takes it inside. 1-1. Boy, it's a test. You go 0-8 on the road, jump to a lead here, feeling good, and then all of a sudden 4 unearned runs, and you've got to come right back and continue to compete. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
You know, that's part of being a professional. You know?
Yep.
Even when it hurts, even when it's difficult. And these guys, listen, you don't make it to this level of a sport without being a competitive person. And you want to go out there. You don't want to be embarrassed. You don't like to lose. And you're going to be tested.
Yep.
Our ball boy was tested the last half inning. Need to get his name, by the way. They made a nice backhanded stop there.
There you are.
See?
He was ready.
He was.
Positive attitude. Looking ahead. What Satchel Paige said about looking behind you. Never look behind you. Somebody might be gaining them. Just kept looking ahead.
That's the truth.
Still a ball, 2 strikes here on Loney. Rays facing the 27-year-old right-hander Tom Kohler. Way wide there. So it's 2-2. Kohler was an 18th round pick in the 2008 draft. Oh. Well, sometimes you're going to be tested more than you know.
He kept it in front.
He did. Yeah.
He's not happy with it. Oh, he had a beat on it. He was right there.
Got good position. Oh, and strike 3 call. Loney caught looking out on strikes for the second time. Hey, fans, thanks to you, the Rays have sold out the Papa John's bullpen box for the 2014 season. Limited dates remain for other group party areas here at Tropicana Field, such as the left field terrace, the 162 landing, and the back porch. For more information, contact Group Sales at 888-FAN-RAYS or visit RaysBaseball.com. So that's good news, but still some available in other parts of the ballpark. Strike the count to Desmond Jennings. Chop out to Solano at second. Jennings will be the second out in the bottom of the third.
And this is the last thing. If you're a Rays fan, this is the last thing that you want to see is Tom Kohler start to get into a rhythm. Because, as we said earlier, his stuff is good enough to be dominant. Mid-90s fastball, good slow curve with good depth, a sweeping slider. He's got a lot of weapons. If he starts to feel it now pitching with a lead, makes things a little bit more difficult.
Matt Joyce looks at a strike. And had a base hit to center in the first inning. A 1-1. Two strikes. Strike out and a ground out.
I'll tell you something. I can see. Look at what Tom Kohler has on his glove, right there on the thumb. Nice little gift for RTK.
Yeah, that's a fair ball. Down behind the bullpen, it kicks out to Stanton. Joyce hustling his way into second with a double. A 2-out double.
The Rays trying to get something going here with 2 outs, Matt Joyce is going to get a pitch moving in towards him. And he's able to keep this thing fair, and I mean barely. Rips it right down the line, right over the bag. You see it went over that bag, started in fair territory. By the time it crossed over and continued, it lands in foul. But it's not where it lands, it's where it crosses the bag.
11th double of the year for Matt Joyce. We'll see if the Rays can take advantage of this 2-out opportunity. Escobar lined a base hit through the left side, and there's one by the mound, but Solano at second is right there to make the pickup. Escobar is the 3rd out. The Rays leave a man, and we're headed into the 4th inning. It's 5-3 Miami through 3.
Runs allowed by David Price have the Rays trailing 5-3 as we head to the 4th. More questions on this Web Wednesday. Ask the announcers. By the way, a lot of people on Twitter are really excited about the day that BA and Dwayne jumped aboard with their own Twitter handles. But that's another story for another day. Guys, Kevin Kiermaier, a lot of people want to know what his role is going to be, how much playing time we can expect. And also somebody asked, who's the fastest outfielder right now, Kiermaier or Desmond Jennings?
Yeah, he's right. That first part of that little monologue is a topic for another day, so we'll table that for a while. And Kiermaier, by the way, I would have to think over the next 6 to 8 weeks is going to see a lot of playing time for the Rays in the outfield,
especially against right-handed pitching. I think you're going to see him almost every day against righties, and you'll see him out in right field. I think maybe every now and then, if Dez needs a blow out in center, you can put him out there. But his skill set for what the Rays have right now suits right field just fine, especially with that arm of his.
Oh, that's a great right field arm, without question. Who's going to win the race, Kiermaier or Jennings?
You know what? This is the way I handicap it. Kiermaier's going to give great effort, but I think Desmond Jennings' straight line speed is still just a bit much.
Yeah. Johnson out on strikes, caught looking. That'll be another strikeout here to add to the total for David Price.
Who's that
number 6?
That backdoor cutter. We haven't seen a whole lot of those tonight. But David able to lock up Reed Johnson on that one.
Jed Lucas. Foul right back into the screen. Lucas called out on strikes in the first and then singled in the third. Checks in time to take it high, 1-1. Price 61 pitches through 3, and you see Stanton on deck. Be the third hitter in the fourth. 2-2.
Well, after giving up 4 unearned runs in his last half inning of work, the one thing we know about David Price, mentally tough for these situations. We saw it in Boston. Gave up 5 in the first inning and then ended up going 8 complete, giving up just 1 hit the rest of the way. So he will continue to compete and continue to make pitches.
Pitch in on the fist, and Lucas fly ball short right, and there comes Kiermaier. Boy, that appeared to had base hit written all over it. He was jammed, but Kiermaier gets there to take it away from him.
Like closing speed. Good straight line speed there by Kiermaier. No, I'm not going to go back on Desmond beating him by a step, but that was great effort in a tough area. Those balls there usually are falling in, but Kiermaier makes a heck of a play. David Price always one to acknowledge his fielders.
Well, I'm telling you, it's way early, but from what we've seen of Kiermaier, I mean, here's a guy, he spends enough time in the big leagues and gets enough playing time, and the offensive side of his game is what they really want to see come and develop. I mean, you start thinking about potential Gold Glove.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, with that speed,
yeah,
and the jump he gets and the arm he has.
I mean, we saw well, you know, we know the arm, the accuracy of the arm, ability to go get the ball. He's going to get to more balls hit out in the outfield than most. Because of that ability, he's got a chance to make, you know, more highlight reel catches. He's got a great glove. Saw one of those out in Anaheim. And one right there.
There are guys who make highlight reel catches because they don't have that range.
Right.
He makes them because he does have the range.
A lot of those former highlight reel catches, he's going to make them routine.
Yeah.
And you're right. He expands his area to have an impact in the outfield because of that speed and because of his jumps.
Cut and a miss. Stanton reaching for that one. Out on strikes. 1, 2, 3. Go the Marlins. Bottom of the fourth coming. 5-3 Miami. Is coming in to hit in the home half of the fourth inning. Now time for you to tweet your photo using hashtag #SunSportsFanPhoto for a chance to have it shown in our broadcast later in the game. Brought to you by AT&T. Here is Kevin Kiermaier to lead off the bottom of the fourth. Molina to follow, and then to Jesus. Kiermaier takes the pitch upstairs. Two and nothing. Rays facing Tom Kohler. He'll be 28 years old at the end of this month. 2-1.
Yeah, I think Kevin Kiermaier, right on that particular swing, not real happy with himself. You know, in a 2-0 fastball swing, you want to be able to plant that front leg and really get into one. He kind of was reaching, feeling for that. Still 2-1 here.
3 balls and a strike. And those are the things that a young player will develop, will come. And you think that just watching him, he's a quick study. And he draws the walk, so he's aboard. So leadoff walk. Our Toyota trend finds the Rays performing much better here at the Trop. And just look at the runs per game, home versus the road.
It's really amazing. 4.73 at home, under 3, 2.88. Speaks to the runners in scoring position. At home, 273 average. On the road, just 211.
Yeah, all of those differentials, the largest in the American League, home and road. Jose Molina strikes down and away off the zone. Molina had an infield hit back in the second inning. Lucas down at third. Tried to backhand a ball between himself and the line behind the bag, and it popped away from him as a base hit. 1-1. Major League draft right around the corner, and we mentioned Kohler was an 18th round pick. That meant that he was the 538th pick in that draft. And interesting how the percentages sometimes break out. In baseball, I think, is maybe as much as any other sport, you get a late pick who finds that development track and really accelerates it and turns out to be a star in the big leagues.
Yep. I mean, look at you, Mike Piazza. Wasn't he 60th rounder?
Yeah,
something ridiculous.
Yep.
But you're right, because it being a skill sport, you get some young kid out of high school, hasn't really grown into his body yet, starts to develop those skills, and then shoots right up the ladder.
Snap throw down to first. Kiermaier back in. 2-1 the count to Molina.
And think about how many guys need to be scouted for a draft. Baseball players are everywhere. You play every day. I mean, you've got, you know, all Division I teams, Division II, JUCO, NAIA, high schools all over the place, and you can find a player just about everywhere. So it's a difficult challenge just to get out there and see everybody that's draft eligible. So people are going to slip through the cracks.
2-1 the count on Molina. 3 balls and a strike. All of that true. But if you look at the percentages, in the year he was drafted in 2008, and he spent 5 years just honing his craft in the minor leagues because he was not one of those high picks that figured he's going to make it quickly. Kiermaier's going to go to second on his walk to Molina. But you look at percentages, and of the first 110 players drafted that year, 66 made it to the major leagues. 66. So that's 60%. of the top 110. The next 428 of which he was a part, 75 made it to the major leagues. So that falls from about 60% to 17+%. And he's one of those guys who just went down there and worked his way through it and is here in the big leagues, and now getting a visit from Chuck Hernandez with a couple walks here to open the bottom of the fourth. And he's had to battle through this one.
Yeah. Yep. Nothing has come easy for Kohler tonight. And this is the way that the Rays can get right back into the game. And the way you let them right back into the game is you come out and walk to 8 and 9 in the lineup. Kiermaier, now Molina. Now you got to come around and face these guys for the third time in just the fourth inning. And that's why the Marlins have that bullpen up and getting them going quick.
Well, the top of the order, David DeJesus. Brian Moore's throwing in the bullpen now for the Marlins. You saw him. So here's an opportunity for the Rays. It's low, covered up by Mathis. 1 ball, no strikes.
A breaking ball right there, and Mathis, a good defensive catcher. You see him leaning over the top of that baseball to smother it right in front.
Foul ball back. Fastball takes the count to 1-1. Then Zobrist on deck. Doing back there on the turn. Kiermaier, the runner at second, he is walked. Molina walked. Strike two taken. It's 1-2. Marlins scored 4 unearned runs in the third to take this 5-3 lead. The Rays trying to take advantage of an opportunity in the bottom of the fourth. DeJesus is out on strikes. Well, it's been tough for the Rays with men in scoring position. They are 0 for 3 tonight and 0 for their last 25 with runners in scoring position.
Well, that makes it awfully difficult to plate runs, obviously. And it's not that they haven't had the opportunities, they just haven't had to do anything with them. And David DeJesus there saw a steady diet of those curveballs from Kohler before finally succumbing to it.
Now Ben Zobrist is the hitter. One ball, no strikes. Kohler's now at 80 pitches, 1 out into the fourth inning. And he finds the strike zone to Zobrist. 1-1.
Ben Zobrist has got that crouching tiger look up there right now. That bent over, up close to the plate, going to make sure he gets a good look at these offerings from Kohler.
Ground ball to second. Solano, Echeverria 1. First base in the dirt and dug out by Baker. The Rays let that opportunity get away from them on the double play ball. Through 4, 5-3 Miami. Of the Trop tonight. Rays Flex Packs have been a hit with fans across Tampa Bay. Score one for yourself and choose any 3, 6, or 9 games you like to attend throughout the season at great savings and receive members-only rewards. To purchase your Flex Pack, call 888-FAN-RAYS or visit raysbaseball.com/flex. We go to the 5th inning here at the Trop tonight. David Price, through 4 innings, has made 73 pitches. Face Casey McGee to lead off the 5th. It's a little bit outside. 1 ball, no strikes. "31-year-old infielder with 28 home runs in Japan last year. Drove in over 90.
Yeah, found that stroke once again and then makes the trek back to the United States. Here with the Marlins, giving a little bit of protection to Giancarlo Stanton along with Garrett Jones.
1 ball, 2 strikes.
Garrett Jones, they picked up from the Pittsburgh Pirates. Obviously, he is not in the lineup tonight. Left-handed hitter. He's been swinging the bat well.
Ozuna on deck. McGee, strong right-handed hitter. The DH in the lineup here at the Trop. 2-2. And they did say that he hit the ball the other way a little bit more in Japan. He's still going to pull the ball, but he hit the ball the other way a bit more. And we saw him take one right up the right field line to drive in a run in the 1st inning. He's out on strikes this time. That'll be the 8th strikeout for David Price.
Well, Casey McGee not believing what his eyes saw, and that right there is a cutter right to the outside corner, and he's saying, you know, this ball's off the plate, and well, Fox Tracks would beg to differ, but David Price, he starts it off the plate. A hitter starts to give up on it, and when he's able to spot it like that, there's not a whole lot you can do with it anyway.
Ozuna takes this one down and in. Ball, 1 strike. Price, after his 5th win of the year, comes into this game 4-4. This is his 13th start of the season. Fly ball toward the right field line. Straight line running Kiermaier, but that's going to be out of his reach. 1 hop and out of play. That well behind the bullpen mound. David's given up 8 hits, 5 runs, 4 unearned runs in the 3rd. And he picks up strikeout number 9.
Another backdoor cutter from David Price. We didn't see a lot of these early in the game, but now as this game has started to move on and he's starting to face these hitters for the 3rd time, he's brought it out and he has been effective with it, especially with the last 2 hitters. You give up on it off the plate, that one may have been off, but look at the subtle little glove move by Jose Molina in order to get that strike for David.
There's Baker shooting one up the right side. That's a foul ball. Strike 1. You know, these 2 strikeouts of McGee and Ozuna on the cutter, and I think he got Stanton swinging at one in the fourth inning.
Yeah.
That pitch was away, and Stanton didn't. It stands out because you so very seldom see him with that kind of cut. It was not a good cut.
No.
And it was kind of an emergency. Oh, that pitch is cutting in, and, well, you're out now.
Well, let's remember that this team has not seen, the Marlins have not seen David since 2011.
Baker hits it on the ground to second. 1, 2, 3, we go. Bottom of the fifth inning coming up, but Evan Longoria will lead it off after hitting a home run in the first inning. Rays are down by 2. Off the home half of the fifth, facing right-hander Tom Kohler. Ben Zobrist and Evan Longoria hit back-to-back first-inning home runs. Zobrist hit a 2-run shot. Longoria followed with his solo homer. As this one fouled, his 6th home run of the year. Here's another look.
Boy, aggressive swing at a ball middle in. Got the head out and rocketed that ball right up the line. Good to see from Evan.
One and one.
We even saw that in his second at bat. An aggressive couple of swings.
Breaking ball that missed outside. 2 and 1. Upstairs, and he went after that high fastball. 2 and 2.
Well, and Kohler's been able to beat him upstairs with a couple of fastballs, but Evans still, you know what, the count's in your favor. 2 and 1. That is your job. Let it go.
Ground ball. Echeverria, nice pickup and the throw to first. He's out at first. The call, and the Rays might want to take a look at this one. It appeared that Baker left the bag, and Joe Maddon's going to go out there and have a conversation with Chris Conroy.
Let's take a look at it right here. Nice play by Echeverria to get it off the knees with the throw. Jeff Baker, ball in the glove. Here's the deal. That's going to be close, and is it clear and convincing? See, this is where the call on the field becomes really important.
Yeah.
I mean, who's to say? It may be off, but from those 3 angles, you can't say definitively that it is.
Yeah, so you're not going to challenge that and know that you're not going to overturn it unless it's clear and convincing. So a nice play by the shortstop Echeverria, as it turns out, and Baker at first. One ball, no strikes, the count to Loney. 1-1. Only went after a fastball and fouled it right back. One ball, two strikes. Two and two. Full count, 3-2. Looking for his first hit of the night. Fouls this one back. One out into the fifth inning. And ball four. Loney heads to first, drawing the one-out walk here in the fifth. Right now, let's go to Todd Callis. Todd?
Yeah, Dwayne, in the 17 years that I've been with the organization, this might be my least favorite report that I've done. Don Zimmer, we just found out, has passed away at the age of 83, so our thoughts and prayers go out to Soot, his wonderful family. He called the Tampa Bay area his home since the late 50s. He was just a joy to be around, guys. It was a treat. I felt like I was getting a gift every time we talked, so back to you, but some really sad news.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. 66 years in this game, and more than what he was in baseball. He was just a great man and a joy to be around, and that is sad news. Jennings lifting a foul ball out of play. All going to have our special memories of being with Don through the years. One to count here on Desmond Jennings. 1-2. Ball hit to short. Echeverria, Solano, and then Baker for the double play. 6-4, 3 and out. So as we complete 5, we're all going to miss Don Zimmer, and we'll silently remember them.
presented by Bright House Networks.
Sad news that we have lost Don Zimmer. You can never really lose him. We go to the 6th, and I've got to tell you how awkward this feels to broadcast a baseball game, but it did occur to me that in so many ways it's so fitting, because that's what Don's life was all about. He and Soot were married at a minor league ballpark.
Yeah.
And you looked at those photographs, and he's never going to leave you. He's not going to do it, because those smiles and those sparkling eyes are always going to be carried with all of us who knew Don. Two to Solano. David Price on the hill for the Rays, so maybe this is where we're meant to be during this time.
And this game is such an overriding part of his life. Saw the number on his jersey, 66 years. But yeah, it's tough to be talking pitch location and
yep. Yeah, but he'd tell both of us. We'd better talk about pitch location.
Yeah. Right about that.
Yeah. Full count here to Solano. Bottom part of the order. Mathis will be next, and then Echeverria for the Marlins. And Solano is out on strikes. That's 10 strikes, 10 strikeouts for David Price.
And that's the pitch that he's really started to exploit this Marlins lineup with, that backdoor cutter. Early on, it was the curveball, and as this game has moved on, it's become that cutter is a good put-away pitch.
strike to Jeff Mathis. Mathis singled in the third. Two. This game has been 5-3 since the third. Hopper to right side. Out play it goes. Right there that Tom Foley is aware of the news. Tom wearing Zim's number and the name on the back of his jersey to honor Don Zimmer. So the Rays coaches, staff have been made aware of the news that we received just a few minutes ago. Is out on strikes. So that's 11 strikeouts.
Well, that's 5 out of the last 6 hitters, and all 5 have been that backdoor cutter.
And here's Echeverria. Drive caught by Escobar. So a 1-2-3 inning. Third consecutive 1-2-3 inning. We're in the middle of the 6th. It's 5-3 Miami. Marlins lead the Rays. Rays coming into bat in the bottom of the 6th inning. And a new pitcher on the hill for the Miami Marlins is Brian Morris. 5 innings for Tom Kohler. 3 runs, 6 hits, 4 strikeouts, 4 walks. And now Brian Morris.
On for the 22nd time. And this was the right-handed bullpen arm that the Miami Marlins acquired from the Pittsburgh Pirates. They traded their 39th overall pick in the draft that will start tomorrow to pick up Morris to help shore up that bullpen. This has been a troublesome area for the Marlins.
First pitch and a liner off the glove of the shortstop Echeverria. Matt Joyce hit that ball very hard and is aboard to open the home half of the 6th.
Well, they had Matt Joyce defensed perfectly. Echeverria shading up the middle. He gets to it. That would have been a tough play, especially with the action that I'm sure was on that ball that hit by Matt Joyce and not able to come up with it.
Yunel Escobar. Is too low. Again goes Joyce. Man, aboard with his 3rd hit of the night. Greeted Brian Morris with a base hit. Morris 27 years old. It's 1-1. Joyce, a high chop to short. He only plays to first. Echeverria floats the throw to Baker in time. So the Rays starting Joyce, trying to stay away from the double play, and they succeed in that.
Well, Brian Morris gets an awful lot of ground balls, especially this year, a 67% ground ball rate. So the Rays being proactive, trying to get something going, manufacture something, also stay out of the double play. They send Joyce, and they do just that.
You know, Morris got off to a very good start with Pittsburgh. He's 2-0 with a 164 earned run average in the first 9 appearances of the season. One hopper off the glove of Echeverria. He recovers and throws to first to get Kiermaier. Joyce will go to third. Kiermaier hit a shot to short.
He sure did, and he almost was able to sneak that by Echeverria, but he was able to smother it right here. Didn't catch it clean, but it stays close enough that he's able to turn and get the speedy Kiermaier. In fact, the only reason that he got him is because he hit it so hard.
Two outs, and Jose Molina will be the hitter. Morris over his last 12 outings put together a 568 earned run average. Joyce now at third with 2 outs and a strike to count to Molina. One. Braves still trying to break that streak of men in scoring position. They came in 0 for 22. 0 for their last 22, and they're foul ball up the right side. 0 for 5 tonight. Nothing of their last 27 with runners in scoring position. Walked by Mathis.
Boy, how about that block by Mathis? That was not an easy pitch to handle at all. Brian Morris really yanking that breaking ball, and Mathis, as we've seen him do a number of times, get out there and smother, keep that ball right in front. Just the way he angles his torso up and over the baseball.
Go all the way to 3-2 here. Morris against Molina. Ground ball third, backhanded by Lucas. Throw to first in time. Molina's out, and the Rays leave a man at third. 5-3 Miami. Strikeouts tonight. We move into the 7th, and the Rays are trailing 5-3. The Marlins scored 4 unearned runs in the 3rd. That's the difference in this game. This is the 18th time that Price has had 10 or more strikeouts in a game, and in the prior 17. The Rays have gone 15-2. His personal record is 14-1 in that stretch, and then 2 no decisions that have been split 1-1. So high strikeout performance tonight. The Rays are down by 2 as we go to the 7th inning. Reed Johnson, the top of the order, to lead it off. First pitch, breaking ball, just a little wide. 10 in a row retired by Price. 6 strikeouts in that stretch of 10 consecutive hitters retired. Long one, foul down the left side.
As this game has moved on, we've seen David Price do a much better job of mixing his pitches. Every one of them has played a prominent role. The cutter, really, in the last couple innings has come on. The fastball to both sides. We've seen some good changeups. We've seen him use the curveball.
Chop charged by Escobar. That's the first out in the 7th inning.
Good job by Escobar to get to that baseball before it bounced one more time. That may have been a play that he could not make, but by charging it aggressively, he gets it just off the dirt. Makes it a much easier play.
Now Lucas, the third baseman, Ed Lucas. Pitch is a strike. To the count. Outside, 1 ball, 2 strikes. This is the 4th time this year that Price has had 10 or more strikeouts in a game. Won those other 3. Number off the end of the bat. Count still 1-2. Season's high this year, 12. He's done that twice. Eleven strikeouts tonight. Given up 5 runs, 8 hits, 1 earned run. Down to third, comes up for Longoria. Throw to first. An even dozen in a row retired by David Price. Now Giancarlo Stanton with a double, single, and a strikeout in 3 official at bats. 2 runs scored. He scored the first run of this game. A 2-1 pitch and lined it right off the left field wall. Under this one, pops it up. That's Evan Longoria in foul territory, taking care of that. 1, 2, 3. Bottom of the 7th coming, 5-3. Miami. Baseball on Sun Sports is presented by your Tampa Bay area Mazda dealers. It takes conviction, creativity, and courage to build cars worth driving. This is the Mazda way. And by Tradewinds Island Resorts, so many ways to just let go on St. Pete Beach. We go to the home half of the 7th inning. David DeJesus leads off for the Rays. The Rays are down by 2, and the first pitch to DeJesus is a strike. Ryan Morris is in the game in relief of Tom Kohler, who worked the front 5. Morris worked the 6th and begins the 7th. Foul out of play. 0-2.
Morris's last 2 outings with the Pittsburgh Pirates were both 2-inning affairs, and he was scored on in each of them.
Well, that could be a good trend.
I was going to say, Ray's hoping that continues.
One ball, 2 strikes. DeJesus is out on strikes. That'll be the first out here in the bottom of the 7th inning.
That was a 89-mile-an-hour slider that Morris was able to get DeJesus with. And he put it in a very good spot. Down and in where a lefty wants it, but a little bit further down than David wanted it.
Here's Ben Zobrist. Ball, no strikes. Zobrist hit the 2-run home run in the bottom of the 1st that at the time gave the Rays a 2-1 lead. They led 3-1 at the end of an inning. Two balls, no strikes. It's Mike Dunn, hard throwing left-hander, warming up in the bullpen. Ground ball, that's going to go through the right side, and Zobrist is aboard with his 2nd hit tonight. A runner aboard with 1 out for Evan Longoria.
Get the tying run to the plate. Ben Zobrist able to hook that ball and hit it hard enough that Solano not able to get to it. That gives Evan Longoria a chance here, and we've seen him really start to open up that swing tonight. Hit the home run his first time up right down the left field line. He has started to cut it loose.
Yeah, he followed the home run by Zobrist with a home run of his own. Hit the ball hard to the shortstop in the 5th inning, and Echeverria made a very nice play on the ball. Well, here's Evan with the Rays down by 2 runs, a runner at first, 1 out in the 7th. Too high. A ball, no strikes. Rays have equaled the Marlins in hits tonight. Each team with 8. Evans, a big cut right there to pitch he liked.
Well, we just talked about the fact that Evan tonight has really cut it loose, and he got a hanger there. He'd like to have another shot at a pitch in that area.
1 ball, 1 strike. Over to first, and Silver's back in there. And the ball loose from the bullpen on the left field side. Rays trying to snap an 8-game losing streak, finishing the road trip 0-8. Pops it out of play, foul. Bottom of the 7th tonight, the Rays and the Miami Marlins. Ground ball short. Maria, Solano, Baker, and a double play ball ends the 7th. We head into the 8th, 5-3 Miami.
Cannon Field, the Marlins leading the Rays. This is a Web Wednesday Ask the Announcer segment, but in light of the news of our dear friend Don Zimmer passing away, Rays senior advisor, we lose tonight at age 83. You guys gave us some great questions, but they seem a little inconsequential in light of the news. So at this point, we'll just go forward with the last question of the night. And a couple people want to know about your guys' favorite memories or stories about Don Zimmer. Personally, I'll remember our poker games, the treasure trove he was for talking about the game of baseball. My favorite thing was that little gleam in his eye when he knew he was jabbing somebody and he was just kidding, and at the end of it he would just have that big smile and a gleam in his eye like, I got you. So guys, your thoughts or stories about Zim?
Yeah, he got all of us like that. He was so great, and my goodness, there's so many baseball stories about him. As a kid, I had his baseball cards, and then watched him as a player and a coach and a manager. And in the 80s, I was blessed to go to Chicago when he was the third base coach up there for Jim Fry and the Cubs, and then eventually the manager of that team that won the division in '89. And of all the great baseball stories that he could tell, the thing that struck me the most about Zim was his loyalty. And he was the third base coach to Zimmer. Here's McGee with a fly ball to right, one gone. And the Cubs, after winning in '84 and contending for part of '85, saw injuries and things fell apart. Eventually, Jim Fry was fired by Dallas Green, who was the general manager. And they called Fry in and said they're going to let him go. And he thanked Dallas for giving him the opportunity to manage the team. And almost immediately, Zim marched upstairs and resigned as a third base coach because they had fired his childhood friend and former Cincinnatian Jim Fry, and he did it out of loyalty, and that's how he was. It was the loyalty ultimately that I think I'm going to remember the most about Don Zimmer, as well as the fun and the gleam in his eye. But it just struck me at how loyal he could be. He would stick up for people. He would encourage people. And if he had to resign a job because somebody fired his good friend, his manager, he didn't miss a beat to do that. And I think of all the things, that has impressed me the most about Don Zimmer.
Tough to beat that one. That is a great story, and I know that you've told that before, and you're right. It speaks to his loyalty. My feelings on Don go more towards what Todd was saying. I got the opportunity to be an assistant to Jim Hickey here for a couple of seasons, and Don, of course, was in the same role, an advisor with the team, and we would be able, on the home games, during the home games, we would be able to to sit up in the coach's room and watch the games together, and the stories that he would tell from his playing days, from his managing days, what Todd talked about, the fact that he would tweak you a little bit. He would manufacture an issue with me, and he would start working me over and getting me going a little bit, and then all of a sudden you'd see that mischievous grin on his face. And the thing about Don too, when he smiled big, his eyes would disappear, and that's when he knew that he got you, and that's when you knew that it was a joke. And he's just such a pleasure to be around. So fortunate, the opportunity that I got to do that.
I asked him one time, and the stories that he had were unbelievable. I asked him one time, one of my childhood thrills was getting Duke Snider to wave at me. When I was a kid, he was at this time near the end of his career with the Giants. He was playing right field in the old ballpark in St. Louis, which was Sportsman's Park. And for 4 innings, I had yelled, "Duke, Duke." And finally, he turned and waved. And so I was talking to Zim about that. And, of course, he was a teammate of Duke Snider when they were with the Dodgers, and when they went to Los Angeles from Brooklyn. And he told me a great story about how he was somewhat responsible for Duke Snider hurting his arm. They were, during batting practice, they were out in the field at the Coliseum in Los Angeles, and they decided that they were going to try to throw a ball out of the Coliseum. And one attempt after another, one would try it, then the next one would try it, the next one, and he said, about the four, he says, and he says, Duke had a good arm. He says, he says, mine was about 6 rows from the top. He goes, Duke was going to throw it out. And he said, about the 4th or 5th time Duke tried to throw it out, he let go and he grabbed his arm, and he hurt his arm. And Duke Snider said to Don Zimmer, he says, I hurt my arm. And Zim goes, I tell you what you do. You don't tell them that you hurt it. You go in, you pick up a bat, you take a swing in batting practice, and then you grab your arm, and you go, oh, I hurt my arm while I was taking batting practice. I said, Zim, you're telling me that you told Duke Snider to lie? How could you tell anybody to lie? I've lost such faith in you now. So they both got into a little hot water with the Dodgers for doing that. I just thought it was just a wonderful story about Don Zimmer and Duke Snyder and the great idea of trying to throw a ball out of the Coliseum in Los Angeles. Pitching change for the Rays. David Price is out of there. And what a great night it was for David. Misfortune of 4 unearned runs. And now Brad Boxberger on to face. It's going to be Garrett Jones actually to pinch hit here in the place of Baker. So it's Jones to pinch hit. Fly ball up the right side into foul territory. Kiermaier is going to run out of room. That ball's out of play. Strike the count on the pinch hitter Jones.
Garrett Jones, another one of the principles that you against right-handed pitching, you're going to line him up behind McGee. Usually McGee behind Stanton. They have made a formidable trio.
To the count. A 5-3 ball game here in the 8th. Outside corner. Boxberger picks up the 12th strikeout of the night for Rays pitching.
And I'll tell you, Brad Boxberger has been racking up strikeouts in a big way. That was a well-located fastball right there. I'll tell you, he's got a number of ways to get you out. The fastball that'll get into the mid-90s, the breaking ball, a good changeup. Right now the entire mix is working well.
First to Ozuna, the base runner. Donovan Solano is the hitter. One. So Boxberger keeping an eye on Ozuna at first base. It's a 1-1 count. Catcher Mathis. Jeff Mathis is on deck. Price pitched 7 1/3 tonight for the Rays. Gave up 9 hits. Responsible for a man on here. 5 runs so far, 1 of which earned. Runner takes off. The pitch is a ball, and the throw skips through into center, but it's backed up. And that'll be a stolen base for Ozuna. Zobrist backing up the throw as it skipped through Escobar. First steal of the year for Ozuna.
Well, good jump by Ozuna, and he pitched a good pitch. Picked a good pitch to go on. It was an off-speed changeup.
And a strike to count to Solano. There's a strike. 2-2. Count is full. Short. Escobar makes the play, and the top half of the 8th inning is over. The Marlins leave a man. We go to the bottom of the 8th. 5-3 Miami. Eighth inning, the Marlins lead this game 5-3. It's been that way since the top of the 3rd. Now the Marlins go one step deeper into their bullpen. Tom Kohler started work 5. Brian Moore's the newly acquired right-hander worked 2, and now Mike Dunn, the lefty, takes over.
Well, in 21 2/3 innings, 26 strikeouts, big fastball. Trying to bridge that gap to their closer, Cishek. They go up against Loney, but James Loney, as we all know, very proficient hitting lefties.
And that's Oviedo, the right-hander, loosening in the Rays bullpen.
Primarily fastball slider, what you would expect from a power arm coming out the back end of the bullpen. And James Loney, the reason that he hits lefties so good is he just buries himself in there. He does not bail out very often. Keeps that front shoulder locked in and will use the whole field.
Strikes the count to Loney. It's Christian Yelich. He's in there in left field now. Took over in the 7th. Jones, after pinch hitting, stays on to play first base. Two strikes the count here on James Loney. Reached once tonight on a walk in the 5th. A couple of strikeouts otherwise. Desmond Jennings on deck. And strike 3 called breaking ball.
I'll tell you, Mike Dunn dropped a curveball in there at 77 miles an hour. This is a pitch that he throws about 2% of the time. He's mainly that fastball slider, does not go to the curveball very often, but boy, did he drop a beauty in there to get Loney.
Desmond Jennings trying to bunt his way on. It bunts it right back over the screen for a strike. Year-old left-hander Mike Dunn in there. One and one now. Sean Rodriguez out on deck. He'll be the pinch hitter next for Matt Joyce, with the left-hander in the game. Matt had gone 3 for 3 tonight. Two and one. Jennings swings through the hard stuff there. Fastball at 95. There's A.J. Ramos in the bullpen on the left field side for Miami. And strike 3 call on the outside corner. Fastball away, got him.
Well, 2-strike fastball. This is where you'd love to see Desmond Jennings. I'm not sure what he was looking for right there, because he's primarily hard with the fastball and the slider. Just maybe thought that that ball was off the plate, realizing late that it was strike 3.
Sean Rodriguez pinch hitting for Joyce. Ground ball by the mound is second. Solano makes the play. The Rays are up and down in order. We're through 8. It's 5-3 Miami. ninth inning. The Marlins lead the Rays here 5-3. Sean Rodriguez, after pinch hitting for Matt Joyce, stays in to play left field. Juan Carlos Oviedo will take over on the mound. Their third pitcher tonight for the Rays. Price worked 7 1/3. Boxberger 2/3, and now Oviedo.
Oviedo on for the 19th time, or actually 19 innings pitched, 18 strikeouts, and he's primarily the fastball changeup. You know, he has slowly but surely worked himself into the back end of this bullpen, where Joe Maddon has a number of options to go to try to shut a game down, or at least keep the opposition where they are and give his offense a chance to come back late.
Jeff Mathis, the catcher, stands in to open the ninth. Echeverria to follow, and then Yelich. Strike one to Mathis. Oviedo last pitched in Boston on Sunday. He was in there for one inning and touched for one run. It's a ball and 2 strikes. Deck, and strike 3 is called. 13th strikeout for Rays pitching. Price had 11 tonight. So David Price has had 4 games with 10 or more strikeouts this year. He's tied for the major league lead in that department. Steven Strasburg, who had his 4th tonight as well. Strasburg and Price. Echeverria at the plate, fouls it back. That's a strike. Zizek in the bullpen. And a 1 strike count on Echeverria. Upstairs, 1-1. Oviedo trying to hold the Marlins here in the ninth and give the Rays a shot in the bottom of the ninth. 1-2. What a start for the Rays offense tonight in that first inning when they jumped out with a 3-1 lead. We'll be hoping to finish with a flourish in the ninth inning. Going to be a base hit into shallow left center. Sean Rodriguez in for the pickup. Echeverria has his 2nd hit tonight, and that will give Miami 10 hits on the evening. Christian Yelich now. An impressive young outfielder. Echeverria back in. Yelich drew the bases loaded walk in the 5th inning of last night's game in Miami, and that was the difference in the game.
And that was tough too, because Chris Archer had gone up on Yelich 0-2 in that at bat.
This pitch is a ball.
Other than that unfortunate walk, Chris Archer in last night's game was tremendous. I'll tell you, it's another game. You go out and go 7 strong innings and give up just 1 run.
Yep.
You deserve a better fate than a loss, except that man right there, Henderson Alvarez. He's 3 shutouts this year. In fact, if you go back to his no-hitter in his last start last year, 13 starts, his last 13 starts, 4 shutouts. 3 straight shutouts in interleague play.
And he doesn't waste any time getting it done, does he?
No, he does not.
What do you have, 88 pitches?
88 pitches in giving up 8 hits and striking out 5 in 9 innings.
Keeping an eye on Echeverria at first. He has a couple of stolen bases. He's been caught 4 times.
Well, that's the one thing that this Marlins offense does not do well, and that's run. Fewest stolen bases in baseball. They don't attempt that many.
It's outside to Yelich. 2 balls, no strikes. Well, 3 balls, no strikes. For 7 1/3. Boxberger 2/3. And Lucas is on deck. Vito finds the zone. 3-1. Straight back into center field. Jennings will go to the track and make the catch. 2 gone, and Echeverria retreats to first. The Blue Jays are batting in the 9th inning in Detroit, leading the Tigers 6-2. They're trying to go 12 games over 500. Rangers have tied the Orioles in Arlington 5-5. That's now moving into the top of the 6th. The first, they're right back in there. Stepping back. Oviedo wait for a bit. Runner goes. Pitch is down, and there will be no throw from Molina. So a stolen base for Echeverria, his 3rd. Steals his way into scoring position.
For a team that doesn't run a whole lot, last couple of innings, they've taken advantage. A lot easier to do that, push the envelope a little bit when you've got a lead. You get 2 outs here in the 9th inning, then take a chance, get a runner into scoring position. It works. And they've got one last shot to get him in.
Texas had tied the Orioles. They did that on Adrian Beltre's second home run of the night. A strike to Lucas. It's 1-1. Miami with 5 runs, 10 hits. Rays 3 runs, 8 hits. Foul back, 1-2. 2 outs here in the 9th. Rays due to have the bottom 3 in the order coming up in their 9th. Escobar, Kiermaier, and Molina. Cishek has been throwing in the bullpen up the left field line for Miami. Waves as that pitch ran away from him. No runs, 1 hit, 1 left. Rays coming into bat. One final shot in the bottom of the 9th, down by 2. For the Rays, they have trailed since the Marlins scored 4 unearned runs in the 3rd. It's 5-3, and Escobar will face Steve Cishek. He's the closer for the Marlins.
Well, and we know with his arm angle, that low, sidearm, almost in between sidearm submarine style, and the Rays really don't have any options to pinch hit. All the left-handed hitters, all the switch hitters in the game. So he's going to work the bottom of the order. And there's not a lot of recourse for the Rays right now.
So it's Escobar, 1 for 3 tonight, and he takes the first pitch. That's in there, strike 1. Cishek pitched the 9th inning Monday in Miami. It's off the plate. 1-1.
And you can see why he can be so tough for the righties and the lefties, but the righties especially with that arm angle almost looks like it's coming from behind you. And a good fastball, he'll sweep the breaking ball.
2 balls and a strike.
In fact, very rarely do you see a guy with that kind of an arm angle be able to get the velocity that Cishek gets. He's got the gimmicky arm angle with some power stuff.
Cut, foul ball. 2-2. Count is full. That fastball hit 94.
That's big. Big velocity from that arm angle.
Yeah.
Get a base runner here.
The chopper, third base, gloved by Lucas, and he cannot come up with it cleanly. So the Rays do get a base runner. That chopper down to third, and Lucas could not handle it.
Well, here's the chopper. He's trying to make a play on it, trying to make the transfer too quick, and never able to get a hold of that baseball.
So that's the second error of the year charged to Lucas. First error charged to Miami tonight. Suddenly the Rays have a chance.
They do. Got a left-handed hitter up here. Kevin Kiermaier, 2 home runs in his limited work with the Rays.
He's 0 for 2 with a walk tonight. Pitch is outside, 1-0. Grant Balfour loosening in the Rays bullpen. Ground ball, chop, fair, up the right field line. Escobar headed to third. Foley will stop him there, and Kiermaier chops a double up the right field line. And now the Rays are cooking.
Well, how about that? 2 choppers. 2 choppers, and you got second and third. Hard enough that you're able to get it over the head of Garrett Jones.
So now, second and third, nobody out. And Jose Molina coming up. You know, the interesting breakout with Cishek, right-handed hitters hitting .270 off him this year, lefties .184, and last year lefties hit only .235 off him. So here's Molina. Pitch outside. Molina without a run batted in this year. So he's due.
Yeah, and he's been presented with a wonderful opportunity here. Second and third, nobody out. Infield is conceding a ground ball.
Two balls, no strikes.
Cishek right now is overthrowing.
Two and 0. There's ball 3 to Molina.
Oh, it hasn't been close on any of them.
David DeJesus on deck. takes it in there for a strike. 3-1. And ball 4 to load the bases. And Molina walks for the second time tonight. And they're going to be loaded for the top of the order. Chuck Hernandez heads to the mound. That's Forsythe going to run at first for Molina. So Logan Forsythe off the bench to run. The Rays are down by 2, so that runner at first base becomes vitally important.
Chuck Hernandez with a quick visit to Cishek. Well, you couldn't ask for a better start here to the 9th inning and a better opportunity for the Rays. Down 2, 3 aboard, nobody out. Top of the order coming up.
David DeJesus.
Your attention, please. Pitch running for Molina, number 10, Logan Forsythe. Now batting, designated hitter, number 7, David DeJesus.
DeJesus walked and scored in the first. The pitch is a strike.
When does he love that backdoor slider to get ahead of the lefties? Just about every time.
Well, the Rays are 0 for their last 28 with runners in scoring position. The last hit with a runner in scoring position was delivered by David DeJesus. He takes strike 2. There's an RBI single in the 5th inning of last Friday's game in that 3-2 loss at Boston. Down 2 strikes right now. Escobar at third. Kiermaier, the runner, at second, and Forsythe running at first, pinch running for Molina. Oh, 2 fouled again. Fastball.
Trying to make him aware of that fastball in, then it wouldn't surprise you at all if he went back to that backdoor slider. The risk that you run on the slider middle of the plate in is that if you get and really yank that pitch, it hits David DeJesus. The Rays will take anything they can get right here.
The 0-2 up and away. Check out there, 4-2 on the year, 12 saves. Bases loaded, nobody out, and the 1-2 on its way. DeJesus chops it to first, covering Cishek, taking the throw with the run scoring. That's going to make it 5-4. DeJesus is out. Jones, the first baseman, to the pitcher covering. So the Rays going to run batted in. Down by a run.
Yeah, you'll take that. A chopper deep to Garrett Jones. Sure, the Marlins get an out, but the Rays now second and third with just 1 out. Base hit, you got a chance to win it.
And Ben Zobrist will be the hitter. And 2 hits tonight. Pitch is wide. 1 ball, no strikes. one-run ball game now. Ben opened the scoring for the Rays with a 2-run homer. He could finish it with a 2-run base hit. And that's on the corner. 1-1 to count.
Not a whole lot different from the first pitch that Cishek threw.
Evan Longoria on deck. It was Evans' error that opened the door for the Marlins back in the third. A 1-run game in the bottom of the ninth. Close. 2 balls and a strike.
Yeah, and I think that maybe right there, the fact that this was outside, that looks like a strike right there. And it was better than the first 2. Hey.
So one way or another, the count is 2-1.
Tough arm angle for the hitters. Tough arm angle for Adam Hamari.
Zobrist granted time. He's trying to snap an 8-game losing streak. Trying to get off on the right foot here in this stretch of home games. The chopper down to first. That's a fair ball. And still at third, Kiermaier.
Boy, you just hate to get greedy, but with the runner on second, you'd like to see going on contact there, especially a chopper. Kiermaier, with his speed and a secondary, he's going to make it real tough on Garrett Jones to make a play on him. And you know what? Even if they are able to get him at the plate, you've got Forsythe moving up. Boy, that's a tough one. And Ben Zobrist, that reaction says it all.
And now Longoria is going to be the hitter, and they will walk him intentionally. Yeah. So the intentional walk will load the bases.
I'm going to tell you something right now. You may regret this move. Not that pitching to Evan Longoria is a good thing, but the guy on deck, you're going to face a left-handed hitter. Good idea of the strike zone, a great approach at the plate. He's great in these types of situations. I mean, either one. It's a tough choice either way, but I'd rather go with this right on right.
Well, there's ball 4, and we're going to see the right-hander Cishek pitch to James Loney. Loney's been so good in late game situations.
Well, you just
line drives.
Now, he hits lefties, he hits righties. He's clutch, and he's clutch late. You still go back to that chopper by Zobrist. Well, James Loney can make it a moot point right here.
Loney looking for his first hit. He's 0 for 3, 3 strikeouts and a walk tonight. And here we go. This pitch is a strike.
Well, strike 1 here by Cishek, and here's the other thing. He's got nowhere to put him. So yep. James Loney knows he's going to get pitches out over the plate. And a good idea here because he uses the whole field. He can cover everything.
And he takes strike 2. Kiermaier's at third, Forsythe at second. And the runner over at first, Longoria. Two strikes the count to Loney. And he comes in off the plate. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Loney 0 for 3 in his career against Cishek. Longoria had gone 1 for 2. They walked Longoria, electing to pitch to Loney. 1-2 the count. And a popper on the right side. And Solano, and this game is over as Loney pops out to second. The Rays score 1. They leave the bases loaded, and they drop this one 5-4. Tough way to finish this one as the Rays leave 3 men on base. 5-4 Marlins over the Rays. We'll wrap it in a moment.